How are you guys doing? Today is Thursday, March 31st, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Wednesday, March 30th. And of course, I'm going to preview everything that's going on today as we navigate through this world of sports one day at a time. But taking a quick look at where we are in the calendar year in this last day of March as we are ending the first quarter of the 2022 year. We are in the midst of March Madness in college basketball. The women's Final Four will begin tomorrow, and the men's Final Four will begin on Saturday. So, of course, can't wait to get into that. And then, of course, taking a look at what's going on in the NBA. One more team has clinched a playoff spot, as we are still seeing teams starting to seat themselves out as the playoffs are just around the corner. Not to mention that more teams have qualified for the World Cup in soccer. Just taking a look at the teams, I'm going to look at those teams that were able to qualify there, as the United States was able to qualify as well. Starting off with men's professional basketball, because of course the women's Final Four will start tomorrow. I'll get into that tomorrow. Starting in Cleveland, the Cleveland Cavaliers hosted the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks will go on to beat the Cavaliers 120-112. Cavs won this matchup 120-0. They won this game by 8 after they outscored the Cavs by 17 in the third quarter. That's on the losing end of this matchup. The Cavaliers would be led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Caris LeVert. LeVert finished with 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He would go on to do all of this while playing his 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 19 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and he shot 7 for 8 from the foul line. Their all-star starting point guard, Darius Garland, out of Vanderbilt, finished with 25 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, and 4 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field, a perfect 4 for 4 from 3, and he shot 1 for 2 from the free throw line. And on the winning end of this matchup, the Dallas Mavericks were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard out of Slovenia, Luka Doncic. He finished with 35 points, 9 rebounds, 13 assists, and 2 blocks in 38 minutes. He shot 14 for 26 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he made all 4 of his free throws on the night. Their starting power forward, Dorian Finney-Smith, finished with 28 points in 37 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 6 for 12 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the free throw line. With this win, the Dallas Mavericks are now 48-29. That is currently the third best record in the Western Conference, as they are the third team in the West to have clinched a playoff spot. They are tied with the Warriors for the third best record in the conference. They've won their last 3 games. They've won 7 of their last 10. In the playoff picture, taking a look as they have 5 games left in their schedule, they sit 6 games behind the second place Memphis Grizzlies in the West. They sit 2 games ahead of the 5th place Denver Nuggets. Overall, they trail the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns by 14.5 games. With this loss, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 42-34. That is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost 6 of their last 10 games, as they are currently sitting 2 games behind the two-way tie of the Bulls and the Raptors for the 5th best record in the East. They also sit 2 games ahead of the 8th place Brooklyn Nets. And as they have 6 games left in their schedule, they trail the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat by 6.5 games. The highest seed they can get is the 2nd seed right now, as the Heat are the only team in the East that have clinched a full-on playoff spot. So that is where the Cavaliers are sitting with this loss. Jumping not that far away, one state over in Indiana, the Indiana Pacers hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets would beat the Pacers 125-118. They would win this game by 7 after outscoring the Pacers by 7 in the fourth quarter. Both teams were tied at 4. They went on to outscore the Pacers by 28 in the first quarter as well. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Pacers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Buddy Hield, out of Oklahoma. He finished with 20 points in 37 minutes. He shot 7 for 14 from the field, 5 for 11 from 3, as he made his only free throw. The Pacers starting center, Goga Bitadze, finished with 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 14 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. The Pacers starting point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, finished with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 12 assists, and 4 steals in 37 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Denver Nuggets were led in scoring by their elite starting center, last year's MVP Nikola Jokic. He finished with 37 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, and 7 turnovers in 36 minutes. He shot 15 for 19 from the field and 7 for 8 from the free throw line. Off the bench, the Nuggets point guard Bones Hyland finished with 20 points and 7 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, and he will go on to make both of his free throws. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 46-31. That is the 5th best record in the Western Conference. They've now won their last 3 games, and they've won 6 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they sit 2 games behind the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, who are tied for the 3rd best record in the conference. They sit half a game ahead of the 6th place Utah Jazz, and as they currently have 5 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 16 and a half games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. The highest seed they can get is 3rd as of right now. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now 25-52. That is currently the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost their last 5 games. Their 5-game losing streak is the longest active losing streak in the Eastern Conference. The Jazz and the Portland Trailblazers are tied with them for the longest active losing streak in the NBA. The Pacers have lost 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference, they are currently sitting 14 and a half games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks in the Eastern Conference. And considering they have 7 games left in their schedule, they are one of 3 teams in the Eastern Conference that have been eliminated from playoff contention, alongside the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic. So that is, of course, what that matchup is looking like. Taking a look at what happened in our nation's capital, the Washington Wizards hosted the Orlando Magic. The Wizards would beat the Magic 127-110. They won this game by 17 after they outscored the Magic by 15 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Magic were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Franz Wagner. Wagner finished with 28 points and 5 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 11 for 20 from the field, a perfect 3 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Washington Wizards at home were led in scoring by their starting center, Kristaps Porzingis. He finished with 35 points and 2 blocks, as well as 8 rebounds and 3 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he shot 10 for 13 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard out of Georgia, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, would finish with 25 points and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field and 5 for 9 from 3. Their starting shooting guard Tomas Satoransky would finish with 0 points, but he would finish with 10 rebounds and 13 assists in 27 minutes, one of the most peculiar stat lines I've ever seen. And with this win, the Washington Wizards are now 33-43. That is currently the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won 4 of their last 10 games. As they have 6 games left in their schedule, they sit 6 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, outside of the Eastern Conference play-in picture looking in, as they're very much in danger of losing their playoff contention within the next couple days. And then, of course, with this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 20-57. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference. Only the Rockets are tied with them for the worst record in the NBA. They've lost their last 4 games. Their 4-game losing streak is the 2nd longest active losing streak in the East. Only the Pacers have a longer losing streak. The Magic have lost 7 of their last 10. And considering they have 5 games left in their schedule and they are sitting 19 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, they are one of 3 teams alongside the Pistons and the Pacers that have been eliminated from playoff contention this season. Jumping out to Boston, the Celtics hosted the Miami Heat. The Heat would beat the Celtics 106-98 in what would be a very defining game for the season. The Heat won this game by 8 after they had to outscore the Celtics by 12 in the 4th quarter to overcome their 4-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Boston Celtics were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Jaylen Brown. Brown finished with 28 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 22 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. And of course, their elite starting small forward, Jason Tatum, would finish with 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 40 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Miami Heat were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler. Butler finished with 24 points, 3 rebounds, and a couple of assists in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. The Heat starting point guard, Kyle Lowry, finished with 23 points and 8 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 6 for 12 from 3, and he made one of his 2 free throws. And then their starting center out of Kentucky, Bam Adebayo, finished with 17 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field and 7 for 9 from the free throw line. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 49-28. That is currently the best record in the Eastern Conference. And currently looking at the NBA, they have the 3rd best record in the NBA. They've won their last 2 games. They've won 5 of their last 10. They sit 1 game ahead of the 2nd place Milwaukee Bucks, who are the defending champs in the NBA. They sit 6.5 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers, and they are the only team in the Eastern Conference that has officially clinched a playoff spot for the year, as of course the playoff spots are going to be clinching day by day. You're going to see it more and more. But also they are sitting 15 games ahead of the New York Knicks, who are the first team outside of the Eastern Conference play-in looking in, just to get a sense of where the Heat are, as they have 5 games left in their schedule. The lowest seed they could possibly get is 6th, which would automatically be a playoff spot. And then with this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 47-30. That is the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've now lost their last 2 games. They've lost 3 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they have 1 more win and 1 more loss than the Philadelphia 76ers, so they sit about even with them, even though the Sixers are seated higher. They are both sitting 1 game behind the defending champs Milwaukee Bucks, who are 2nd in the East. They are sitting 2.5 games ahead of the 2-way tie of the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors for the 5th best record in the East. As the Celtics have 5 games left in their schedule, they sit 2 games behind the 1st place Miami Heat, so the 1st place seed is most definitely within reaching distance for the Celtics. It's just going to be harder after they lost to the Heat. Taking a look at what happened in Madison Square Garden, not that far away, the New York Knicks hosted the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets beat the Knicks 125-114. They won this matchup by 11 after they went on to outscore the Knicks by 8 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown New York Knicks were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, Evan Fournier. Fournier finished with 30 points and 4 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 16 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and he shot 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their shooting guard out of Duke, RJ Barrett, would finish with 25 points in 38 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. The Knicks starting power forward, Julius Randle, finished with 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 3 for 5 from the foul line. And their starting shooting guard, Alec Burks, finished with 12 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 assists in 41 minutes. He went on to shoot 4 for 15 from the field, as all of his makes came from 3. He was 4 for 13 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the Charlotte Hornets were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Miles Bridges. Bridges finished with 31 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 11 for 15 from the field. He made all 4 of his 3-pointers on the day, as he shot 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Kelly Oubre Jr. out of Kansas, finished with 21 points and 5 rebounds in 24 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, as he made his only free throw. And the Hornets' elite starting point guard, LaMelo Ball, would finish with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 15 assists, 3 steals, and 6 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 8 for 18 from the field, 1 for 8 from 3, and he would go on to make all 3 of his free throws. With this win, the Charlotte Hornets are now 40-37. That is currently the 9th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've won 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, the play-in picture, they are sitting 1/2 of a game behind the 8th seed Brooklyn Nets. They sit half a game ahead of the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, as they have 5 games left in their schedule. The highest seed they can go for right now is the 7th seed. With this loss, the New York Knicks are 34-43. That is the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference. They're the first team outside of the play-in picture looking in, as they've lost 4 of their last 10 games. Considering the Knicks have 5 games left, or considering the Knicks have 5 games left in their schedule and they sit 5.5 games behind the 10th place Atlanta Hawks, they are at risk of getting eliminated from playoff contention this season. That's where the Knicks are sitting. Taking a look at what happened in Toronto, the Raptors hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves from not that far away. The Raptors would beat the Wolves 125-102. They would win this game by 23 after they outscored the Timberwolves by 12 in the second quarter. And then they would then go on to outscore the Timberwolves by 21 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Wolves were led in scoring by their elite starting small forward out of Georgia, Anthony Edwards. He finished with 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 17 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. Their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns, finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 7 turnovers in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 13 from the field, and he made 2 of his 3 free throw attempts on the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Toronto Raptors were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard out of Duke, Gary Trent Jr. He finished with 29 points and 27 minutes. He shot 9 for 13 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, and he went on to make all 5 of his free throws on the night. Their starting small forward, OG Anunoby, finished with 22 points and 5 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 9 for 13 from the field and made all 4 of his three-pointers. Their starting power forward, Pascal Siakam, finished with 12 points, 10 rebounds, 13 assists, and 6 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field and made both of his free throws. With this win, the Toronto Raptors are now 44-32. They are tied with the Chicago Bulls for the 5th best record in the East, as they went on to win their last 4 games and they won 8 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 2.5 games behind the 3rd place Philadelphia 76ers and the 4th place Boston Celtics. They sit 2 games ahead of the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers. With 6 games left in their schedule, they sit 4.5 games behind the 1st place Miami Heat, as mathematically they still could make it into the first seed at the moment. And with this loss, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 43-34. That is currently the 7th best record in the West. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 5 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, or in the play-in picture, I might say for them, they are sitting 2.5 games behind the 6th place Utah Jazz. They are sitting 5.5 games ahead of the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. And with 5 games left in their schedule, they are sitting 19.5 games behind the 1st place Phoenix Suns. The highest seed they can get at this very moment could possibly be the 3rd or 4th seed, mathematically speaking. Taking a look at what happened in Houston, the Rockets hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Kings would end up beating the Rockets 121-118. The Kings won this matchup by 3 after they outscored the Rockets by 15 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Houston Rockets were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard, last year's number 2 overall pick, Jalen Green, out of the G League. He finished with 32 points, 2 rebounds, and 2 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 25 from the field, 6 for 14 from 3, and he made 4 of his 5 free throw attempts on the night. The Rockets starting shooting guard Kevin Porter Jr. finished with 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 12 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the free throw line. Their forward off the bench, Bruno Fernando, would finish with 17 points and 10 rebounds in 22 minutes. He shot 6 for 8 from the field and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Trey Lyles, along with their starting center, Damian Jones, and their starting point guard, Davion Mitchell. They each had 24 points. Trey Lyles' 24 points came alongside 7 rebounds in 37 minutes, as he shot 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 6 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the foul line. Damian Jones' 24 points came with 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 9 for 13 from the field and 6 for 9 from the free throw line. Davion Mitchell, the defending college champs, 24 points, will come with 5 rebounds and 8 assists in 39 minutes. He would go on to shoot 11 for 22 from the field, and he would shoot 2 for 2 from the free throw line. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are now 28-49. That is currently the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. They've won 4 of their last 10 games. Looking at where they are sitting 4 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers outside of the playoff picture, as they have 5 games left in their schedule. With this loss, the Houston Rockets are now 20-57. That is the worst record in the Western Conference. They are tied with the Orlando Magic for the worst record in the NBA. They've lost their last 2 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They are sitting 12 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference. And considering the Rockets themselves have about 5 games left, the Rockets are one of 2 teams in the Western Conference that have been eliminated from playoff contention. The other team is the Oklahoma City Thunder for right now. And speaking of the Thunder would host the Atlanta Hawks. The Hawks would go on to beat the Thunder 136-118. The Hawks won this game by 18 after they outscored the Thunder by 18 in the first quarter and then a subsequent 9 in the second quarter. They were up by 29 at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the hometown team, were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, Lindy Waters III. Their forward out of Oklahoma State, will go on to finish with 25 points in 33 minutes. He went on to shoot 9 for 15 from the field and 7 for 13 from 3. And alongside all that, on the winning end of this matchup, the Atlanta Hawks were led in scoring by their elite starting point guard, Trae Young. In his home state, Trae Young will go on to score 41 points, finished with 2 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 13 for 24 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3, and 11 for 12 from the free throw line. Their starting shooting guard, Kevin Huerter, finished with 20 points and 3 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 8 for 10 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. Their shooting guard off the bench, Bogdan Bogdanovic, finished with 20 points and 2 steals in 22 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. With this win, the Atlanta Hawks are now 39-37. That is the 10th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they've now won their last 3 games, and they've won 7 of their last 10. In the play-in picture, they are currently sitting half a game behind the 9th place Charlotte Hornets. They are sitting 5.5 games ahead of the New York Knicks, the first team on the outside looking in. And considering the Atlanta Hawks have 6 games left in their schedule, they sit 9.5 games behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. The highest seed that the Hawks can get mathematically from here is the 5th seed, which is occupied by the Bulls. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 22-54. That is the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference, as they've lost 8 of their last 10 games. They are currently sitting 9.5 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers outside of the play-in picture looking in. And considering the Thunder have 6 games left in their schedule, they are one of 2 teams in the Western Conference that have failed to qualify for the playoffs this year. The other team is the Houston Rockets. Taking a look now at what happened in Texas and San Antonio, the Spurs hosted the Memphis Grizzlies. The red-hot Grizzlies would go on to beat the Spurs 112-111. They would win this game by 1 after they outscored the Spurs themselves by 13 points in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Spurs were led in scoring by their all-star starting point guard, DeJounte Murray. He finished with 33 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 5 turnovers in 38 minutes. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and he made all 3 of his free throws. They're starting small forward, Keldon Johnson, will go on to finish with 23 points and 7 rebounds in 38 minutes. He went on to shoot 9 for 21 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies were led in scoring by their starting point guard, Tyus Jones. Out of Duke, he finished with 25 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 21 from the field and 5 for 10 from 3. Their starting small forward out of Oregon, Dylan Brooks, finished with 21 points and 6 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 9 for 17 from the field on the night. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are 54-23. That is the second best record in the Western Conference and the second best record in the NBA. They are one of only two teams that have won 70% of their games so far. They've won their last 6 games. That is the second longest active winning streak in the Western Conference and the second longest active winning streak in the NBA. Only the Suns have a longer winning streak. The Grizzlies have won 9 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 8.5 games behind the Western Conference leading Phoenix Suns. They are sitting 6 games ahead of the third place Dallas Mavericks as they have 5 games left in their schedule. The Memphis Grizzlies have secured the second best record in the West as they will face off against the first team to make it out of the play-in. With this loss, the San Antonio Spurs, are now 31-45. That is the 5th worst record in the Western Conference as they've lost 4 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff, or outside of the play-in picture, they are sitting half a game behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers as the Spurs have 6 games left in their schedule. Taking a look now at what is going on in San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors would host the NBA leading Phoenix Suns. The Suns would beat the Warriors 107-103. They won this game by 4 after they outscored the Warriors by 5 in the second quarter. It was a pretty close game throughout. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Golden State Warriors were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Jordan Poole. Poole finished with 38 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 22 from the field, 7 for 15 from 3, and he shot 9 for 10 from the free throw line. Alongside him, there's elite starting shooting guard out of Washington State. Klay Thompson will go on to finish with 13 points and 4 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 5 for 21 from the field, 1 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the free throw line. The Warriors all-star starting small forward Andrew Wiggins would finish with 19 points and 8 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and he shot 5 for 8 from the free throw line. The Warriors all-star starting power forward Draymond Green finished with 8 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 2 for 4 from the field, and he shot 4 for 5 from the free throw line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their elite starting shooting guard Devin Booker, and then their starting small forward Mikal Bridges. Booker finished with 22 points, 5 rebounds, and a couple of assists in 37 minutes. He shot 5 for 21 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and 10 for 12 from the free throw line. Mikal Bridges finished with 22 points and 7 rebounds in 41 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the free throw line. Their elite starting point guard Chris Paul finished with 15 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 6 for 9 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. The Suns starting center DeAndre Ayton finished with 16 points and 16 rebounds, as well as 5 turnovers in 35 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field and made both of his free throws. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 62-14. That is the best record in the NBA, as they are the only team that can finish their season with at least 60 wins, as I don't think the Grizzlies are able to do it because they already have 23 losses. The Suns have now won their last 9 games. That is the longest active winning streak in the NBA. They sit 8.5 games ahead of the second place Memphis Grizzlies, as the Suns have 6 games left in their schedule. They've already clinched the best record in the West. Overall, they are sitting 30.5 games ahead of the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers, as that is the spectrum of teams that are looking like they can compete through the regular season. With this loss, the Golden State Warriors are now 48-29. That is the 3rd best record in the West, as they are tied with the Dallas Mavericks. The Warriors have now lost their last 4 games, and they've lost 7 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, alongside the Dallas Mavericks, they are sitting 6 games behind the second-place Memphis Grizzlies, as they sit 2 games ahead of the 5th-place Denver Nuggets. Right now, the Warriors have 5 games left in their schedule, as they trail the Suns in the West by 14.5 games. Taking a look, last but not least, at what's going on in the Moda Center in Portland, the Trailblazers hosted the New Orleans Pelicans. The Pelicans would beat the Trailblazers 117-107. They won this matchup by 10 after outscoring the Trailblazers by 13 in the second half to overcome their 3-point deficit at the half. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Trailblazers were led in scoring by their starting power forward, Drew Eubanks. He finished with 21 points and 9 rebounds in 31 minutes. He went on to shoot 10 for 12 from the field and 1 for 2 from 3. Their starting point guard, Brandon Williams, out of Arizona, finished with 10 points, 10 assists, and 6 turnovers in 27 minutes. He shot 4 for 10 from the field. On the winning end of this matchup, the New Orleans Pelicans were led in scoring by their starting small forward, CJ McCollum. He finished with 25 points and 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 16 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3 as well. Their elite starting small forward, Brandon Ingram, finished with 19 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 28 minutes. He shot 4 for 12 from the field and 11 for 13 from the free throw line. Their starting center, Jonas Valanciunas, finished with 19 points and 11 rebounds alongside 4 steals in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field and 3 for 4 from the free throw line. With this win, the New Orleans Pelicans are 33-43. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference as they've won their last 2 games. They've won 6 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they are sitting 4 games behind the 8th place Los Angeles Clippers. They are sitting a game and a half ahead of the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers. As they have 6 games left in their schedule, the highest seed they can possibly go for is the Clippers' 8th seed right now. With this loss, the Portland Trailblazers are now 27-49. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference as they've now lost their last 5 games. Their 5-game losing streak is tied with the Jazz for the longest active losing streak in the West. They are also tied with the Indiana Pacers for the longest active losing streak in the NBA. And then taking a look, of course, the Trailblazers have now lost 9 of their last 10 games. They sit 4.5 games behind the 10th place Los Angeles Lakers as the Blazers have 6 games left in their schedule overall, so they're still eligible for playoff contention. But that is currently where they're sitting, as they are in danger of being eliminated virtually any day now at this point. But that is what the NBA is looking like as we are, of course, transitioning into today's games. So far, like I said, only one team from the Eastern Conference is clinched. I imagine that within the next couple of days, we're going to see more teams clinching really quickly. But taking a look at the big matchups today at 7:30 on TNT in the Barclays Center, the Brooklyn Nets are going to host the Milwaukee Bucks. The Nets enter this matchup having won 7 of their last 10. They hold the 8th best record in the West, sitting 2 games behind the 7th place Cleveland Cavaliers, as the Nets have 6 games left in their schedule. The Milwaukee Bucks enter this matchup having won 7 of their last 10. They sit a game behind the Eastern Conference leading Miami Heat. They sit a game ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers, holding the 3rd best record, in the 4th seed Boston Celtics for right now. And as the Milwaukee Bucks have 7 games left in their schedule, they could possibly see themselves clinch the playoffs either this game or the next game. Taking a look at what's going on right after that at 10 o'clock on TNT, the Utah Jazz are going to host the Los Angeles Lakers in Vivint Arena in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Jazz enter this matchup having lost their last 5 games and 6 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the 5th place Denver Nuggets right now. The Lakers enter this matchup with the 10th best record in the West, as they've lost their last 3 games and they've lost 7 of their last 10. They only sit half a game ahead of the San Antonio Spurs, the first team on the outside looking in. The Lakers are sitting a game and a half behind the 9th place New Orleans Pelicans. Looking at the games that aren't on prime time at 7 o'clock, the Detroit Pistons, who are holding the 2nd worst record in the East, are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers. At 7:30, the Atlanta Hawks are going to host the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's going to be a makeup game. And then at 8 o'clock, the Chicago Bulls are going to host the Los Angeles Clippers in the United Center. Taking a look now what's going on in the world of soccer, the big matchups were World Cup qualifying matchups in North America. Starting, of course, Canada, a team that already clinched, would lose 1-0 to Panama. Mexico would end up beating El Salvador 2-0 as their first goal came in the 17th minute from Uriel Antuna. And then Raul Jimenez's penalty in the 43rd minute would be enough to send Mexico through to the World Cup. And then the United States would end up losing to Costa Rica, but still based off of Costa Rica not matching the U.S. in goal differential. The United States would be the team to advance to the World Cup over Costa Rica. As even though they lost, it ended up being a very big day for the United States. So that's what came from yesterday. Taking a look at what's going on today as we are navigating through this world of soccer. There's not much going on today, as you see right now. The big matchups today are going to be in Women's Champions League. This weekend we'll get back on Saturday with bigger games when it comes to what's going on in the world of soccer. But of course, with that said, I do want to thank everybody for listening to all 35 minutes of this piece as we navigate the world of sports literally one day at a time, as we are at the end of the month of March. I want to thank the ESPN, the NBA, and FIFA websites for giving me all the facts and figures that I needed for this episode. And of course, I apologize for all the names that I butchered. I do, of course, plan on getting them right eventually. And I do want to take this time to, of course, thank everyone once again. I do hope all as well. Once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Friday, April 1st, 2022, which will be the very first day of the last weekend of college basketball. But, of course, we're just going to inch by it. We're going to inch through it one day at a time. But once again, I want to thank everyone for listening to The Elite. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with more tomorrow. Peace out.